Welcome to the creative side of things,
where we empower and inspire business owners and entrepreneurs to tap into their inner creative,
from standing out in saturated markets
to debunking and challenging the status quo.
We'll learn firsthand from actual small business owners how they've applied creativity, imagination, and common sense to grow their businesses. I'm Javier, Chief Creator and founder of High Ground Creative.
And I'm Megan, founder and CEO of Cheek & Co. Clothing.
I'm Gen X and her dad.
I'm Gen Z and his favorite daughter.
Oh, that's debatable.
Well, it's not up for debate. Together we are creative thinkers,
design experts,
branding gurus,
imagination igniters,
and coffee addicts. Keep listening and we'll prove it to you.
Hey, you might learn something.
Imagine that.
Ready?
Let's get creative.
Hello, everybody. We're back to the creative side of things where
we empower and inspire you, and you empower and inspire us to tap into our inner creative, because everyone is creative.
Everybody's creative, but not everybody's artistic. So,
what if everyone is artistic? They just haven't found what it is. Made you look bad.
So, we should do an entire episode about this.
Creativity versus artistic.
Being artistic. Okay, great. So, season 2, episode 2, we're doing fantastic. We're rolling. We had an incredible episode. The first one, which is 1-on-1, which we talk about cafe.
Yep.
And
we talked a lot about coffee, and today is our first guest of
before I go
season
any
2.
further, that episode felt to me like a 40-minute long bad Seinfeld episode.
I like it. That's a good vibe.
And I think it's going to be one of our best.
It was kind of we've never done a season 2 before. So it kind of was cool bringing back what we did in season 1, where we did a get to know me episode, because it was kind of like that, but in another way.
Yeah, because part of who we are and what we're all about is cafe.
As you hold your coffee, yeah.
Right. So today we have our first guest here, and another little change in our methods. We have that person sitting at the table with us, partaking in the cafe.
Until we introduce. But I think it's also great because, guys, what would happen is they would just have to trust us, because we would have a clap button for them, but they couldn't hear it. So we were all excited, like hearing
now
the clap.
She gets to hear the clap button.
They can hear the audience.
Right,
it's
you're
great.
the first to hear the clap button.
That's going to be great.
So we're going to start traditionally.
We also haven't introduced ourselves yet.
Oh, my name is Javier, and I'm her father, and your name is?
I'm Megan, his daughter. And this is we're co-hosts.
Co-hosts, right. So we're excited to be here, and we're going to get going and get started. Why don't you...
I have a quote to share.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So today's quote I picked is Albert Einstein. The true sign of intelligence is not knowledge, but imagination. And we were just chatting before this about how important, obviously everyone's smart in their own ways, and intelligence and knowledge is different, but what is that without action?
Right. You have to do it. You have to execute. You have to do something. You have to step into it.
Exactly. And so that flows into yours.
And then mine is creativity is thinking up new things. Innovation is doing new things. So
little
we can imagine
Easter egg of today's kind of, not topic, but like what we're going to
Yeah, she doesn't even know what direction we're going. And I think she's really, really, really...
So in that sense,
nervous,
innovation is...
I like it this way, keeping her on her toes. Because she keeps me on my... By the way, she keeps me on my toes a lot. So I'm enjoying this moment right now. Hold on a second. Okay.
Great. So innovation is in that the verb, and innovation is the action to the creativity to the idea.
Megan, who raised you? That person just deserves a lot of kudos right here. Okay. Unbelievable, the kind of stuff that's coming out of your mouth today. I love it. That's a mic drop.
Thanks.
That's really good.
I'm excited for today. So I wanted you to do the honors.
Yeah, because this person...
And you introduced her to me as well.
I did. And this person is become one of my dearest friends. But, we'll talk about that. And I had to highlight this because there's a lot of things that I'm going to make her blush about in a few seconds. So her name is Dina Vendetti. Her current role is the president of Grand Poobah, chief everything, chief of whatever's in next at the Central Delaware Chamber of Commerce, which is the Chamber of Commerce in the state of Delaware. Debate me. Go on the newsfeed and challenge me on that statement. So 2000, she was actually, and we're going to talk about this, before her world in the Chamber of Commerce world, she was the principal of St. John's Lutheran School, St. John's for 19 years.
That's right.
19 years. In 2019, that's kind of cool.
You can do the math easier.
She joined the Central Delaware Chamber of Commerce as its Director of Marketing and Communications.
I thought he was reaching for the calculator.
And I didn't want to just miss any of this. She's a 2004 graduate of the Leadership Central Delaware program. That's part of the Chamber of Commerce, the Leadership Mastery. And she also has served in the LCD's Leadership Steering Committee since 2004. She was a CDCC, which is Central Delaware Chamber of Commerce short, Small Business Person of the Year in 2011, and she was honorary mayor of Dover, Delaware in 2017. And this woman still has a PhD.
I was going to say, and she found time.
She has more degrees than Fahrenheit.
Oh my gosh.
And a doctorate in leadership.
Yes.
Right.
Wow.
It must be so cool hearing all this back. I want to be a
right.
guest and someone just read me all my accomplishments.
Now it's making me tired.
You're like, man, I don't know how I did all that.
So we say this because we want to establish credibility. Also know that this person, also Dina, is an incredible individual, loved in the community, very ingrained in this community, which is our theme, influential in so many ways, and a giver. And we want to just share about her and her knowledge and experience and what she has happening now and looking towards the future.
Yep.
So without further ado, Dina Vendetti.
Yay!
So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's fun to be here.
How about that?
How about that?
We're not editing any of that. So
welcome to the
Thank
creative
you.
side of things.
Yeah.
We hear you're a listener as well.
I am a fan. I'm a frequent flyer.
Thank you.
we should do a punch card for never.
How many times have you listened? I can't keep track.
At the end, you get a free mug.
Yeah.
Punches,
you get a
right?
free
Are
mug.
you a video watcher or a listener? What do you prefer?
Well, I'm going to have to confess here. I like to watch it, but generally the times that I find time to really do it, I'm in the car driving somewhere. So I still have it on YouTube so that if I'm at traffic light, I can look, I
like
certainly not while I'm driving down the highway,
just at the stoplight.
but I do like to watch it.
Yeah, see?
He loves hearing that because he works very hard on the visual.
And, before we dive in, I do want to give kudos. We won't put the camera on her, but behind the scenes, we have another one of the awesome Bella Santana daughters. Bella Santana, she's our engineer. She handles all the different changing of the views and tells me what to do, how to connect, and making sure things are working. So we had a little faux pas before this, and she was instrumental in making sure that was fixed. So thank you, Bella. For one day we'll have her. I hit the microphone. Sorry, Megan. She gave me that stink eye, Dina.
I saw it.
So, okay. So
wait a minute. In addition to that, she is also an esteemed member of the newest Leadership Central Delaware class.
Yes.
How cool is that?
Yes. And tonight is the meet and greet for them.
Tonight is the meet and greet.
Not when you hear this, because when it's live, it would have already happened. But tonight it will be. But yes, so she is in the class of 2024 for Leadership Central Delaware. So proud.
You'll be fine.
So we're gonna dive in because we have so many things to talk about with you.
What we do with our guests.
That if you probably can't hear that, well, we can hear it right now. The coffee maker that we make coffee with is
cleaning itself.
Cleaning itself.
Oh, what a day!
But this happened before, and we couldn't hear it in the recording.
Really? I just figured since I can hear it in my earphones,
funny.
I can hear it.
That's a good point.
It's noisier than a cat.
It
It is. And we have a cat, and it's
And
very
he's
noisy.
loud.
He's very noisy.
So what we do with our guests is assume no one knows who you are and introduce yourself.
Right.
So that's don't assume. Like I know it's different to sell. Like if she was telling you about herself, you know her.
Right. So yeah, nobody's. I mean, obviously we had an introduction. You have your accolades, so we have your resume kind of hit there.
But who's Dean?
Who is Dina? I know she plays the piano. I know she's a musician.
Well, give it away. That's her job.
No, so we're going to hand it off to you. We're done talking. Anything you want to share with us?
Well, sure. I am a musician. That was my undergrad, music ed. So, and for many, many years, I was the church musician. Okay. When I left the school scene and came to the chamber, that changed. And so now I do it when I feel like it, when I want to. So I've had some really cool opportunities as a musician. Earlier this summer, I was the music leader for an international church women's convention in Milwaukee. So me and 4,000 of my favorite friends got together and sang a bunch of songs. So that was pretty
That's
cool.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. And occasionally I, play at church or something like that. So it's become more of a hobby than a career choice anymore. But yeah, that is a big part of who I am. I moved to Delaware in 2000. I'm originally from Baltimore. And I just absolutely fell in love with Central Delaware as soon as I got here. It's a really cool place where it's easy to know people and it's really easy to be known. And I think that makes it a really, it's just a warm, welcoming kind of a place. Absolutely.
It is a really good community, for sure.
I said to somebody the other day, I am so proud to be a resident of the capital of the first state.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds a little cheesy, but it's not, because it's the truth. Yeah, and I would love for everybody to feel that way. And I like it here so much that, this is one of those places that I'm not from here, but I kind of wish I was. So, although I'm very proud of where I'm from as well.
Well, the roots are here now, right? So
that's right.
And that's interesting that way, because I lived in South Florida, the west coast of Florida, like the Gulf Coast, Northern Virginia, D.C. area. Great people, a lot of money there, a lot of business, innovation, all kinds of things. But there's something about Central Delaware, the community, the culture, the business community that is so unique. And I can say that with all confidence, because I've been in these places, and it's just unique in the country. So it's very special. So very cool. So Baltimore, so Orioles and Ravens? I know you're a Ravens fan, so for sure.
For sure. And this year I could be an Orioles fan because they're winning.
They're actually in first place.
So, when I was a kid, I grew up in the era of Brooks Robinson and Boot Powell, and I was a junior Oriole and had my birthday at the game, Nice. And then after that, it all went downhill and they never won anymore. So,
not to mention the stadium is stunning.
The stadium is cool.
But the one we were Memorial Stadium.
Memorial Stadium was amazing.
Yeah. It's really cool. And last time they won a World Series was 1983. So it's been a little while.
It has been a little while.
So very cool. We have so much to talk about, and we can't wait to kind of dive into this. So
now we also wanted you to kind of explain what a chamber of commerce is.
Sure.
So I was just telling him that I really didn't know till I got in of what exactly it was. And it's crazy how it's literally everywhere in every state, and more people should know about that, especially small business owners.
Absolutely.
Just in general, what is a chamber of commerce?
Chamber of Commerce is an organization that walks alongside businesses and helps them to connect. So, and that's the, people ask me all the time, what does the chamber do? And there are so many things, by the time I finished the explanation, I didn't mean to pull a hobby there. By the time I finished the explanation, everybody's always glazed over, so I just had to really think about it. And the word is connect, it's connections. We connect people to educational opportunities. We connect people to their legislators and to advocacy for legislation for small businesses. We connect people to ways to tell their story and marketing opportunities. We connect people to each other. That's the most fun.
It's a big one, yeah.
And so we connect people with opportunities and people that will help their business to grow and thrive and expand and, help them to realize their dreams. We're really a resource, and we want to be the essential resource. We want to be the resource that people think of. And so there are a number of chambers. Even in Delaware, there are 15 chambers of commerce. Our chamber is different because we're a county chamber. Okay. And there are many that are attached to like a small town, Rehoboth, Dewey, Fenwick, Seaford. There's a whole bunch of them. Newcastle County, Newcastle. There are all of those different chambers, and they're smaller in general. We are the Central Delaware Chamber, so we really encompass all of Kent County and beyond. I mean, we have people that their businesses are outside of Kent County, but they do business in Kent County. So,
And you can do that. You can
That's
join
cool.
up in that sense too. Does that answer your question, Ms. Smith?
Absolutely. And we were talking about this before we started, as well as if you're in the commerce, the commerce also like has your back. And like if you're connecting someone, you can kind of, and you know the person better, you can be like,
That's right.
give them a good,
Oh, absolutely.
like,
credibility.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is great.
Right. No,
So you look after your own. And I love that.
Yeah, it's important. And there are some things that speak to the credibility of the chamber itself. Just the fact that our particular chamber has been around for over 100 years. We were established in 1919. We're an accredited chamber, a 5-star accredited chamber, which puts us in the top 3% of chambers in the country.
Okay.
So there are things like that people can point to, and it's nice to have them, and it's not necessarily so that we can, brag about it and sit here and say, oh, well, we're this or we're that, but so that our members know they're getting a good return on their investment because this is a high quality kind of a program.
No, for sure. In the challenge and the mission in many ways is in the education is for people to not only to see that there is value there. Business owners are busy doing all kinds of things. So a chamber of commerce can help create opportunities that they might not see. So part of the mission and the communications and the thing is just to bring attention to that.
Yeah.
That this is something that is almost should be a non-negotiable for a business when they get into in business to just join up.
Yeah. And if you didn't know before this what that is, now you do. And hopefully by the end of this episode, you want to go to your local chamber and join.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you are in the central Delaware or anywhere in Delaware, you can definitely join up in there. And I'm, I'll own up. I'm on the board of directors for a year now, a little over a year. So I knew this about the chamber, but being on the inside in my role, it's even exponentially greater the impact that it has done on people, and it's doing right now. So at the forefront is Dina Vendetti. She's not going to admit that obviously there's a huge team behind her, incredible staff and board of directors and volunteers behind this engine. But the engine, there has to be a captain. There has to be somebody to steer it. And that's who Dina, what she does.
And we're so happy to have her as our first guest.
Yeah, I know. This is really good. So we're going to go all kinds of places. But they're going to have some fun too. So try to keep you on your toes there. Did you want to go start us in direction? I like your instincts sometimes, especially when you don't know a lot more about the guest.
Well, I wanted the whole point of our podcast is like our generation gap as well. Absolutely. So I was going to bring that in with bridging the gap for if the commerce is trying to get more younger business owners and like how the age gap, I'm sure goes from like me to him and on.
Yeah, how do you integrate all that?
Because I know I love the Sunset Mixers and how they have like the younger, I forget what it's called, but it's like for certain age groups as well, which is great to kind of bring us together. So if you could talk about that.
Sure, I'm happy to talk about that. That's something actually that has been on my mind a lot in the last, year and a half since I've sat in this chair, out of the marketing situation and into the president's office. Because the younger generation is our future, and it's really important. And we do have a membership that spans all ages. We have people that have been members of the chamber for 50, 55 years, who are still in business. Wow. And we have younger members of the chamber or people who are new in a career that have come to join the chamber. So that's been a really interesting thing to see. We do have our programs, the Sunset Business Mixer you named. That's the premier networking program of the chamber. Because people come together once a month, and there really isn't a program. It's all about how many people you can meet and connect with and see where your connections can happen. Is there a partnership there? Is there a collaboration? Could there be? I'm a big believer that we can do so much more when we work together than we can ever do by ourselves. Mm-hmm. Right. And so when that happens, I think things can really move, So we bring everybody together. So that's for all ages. We do have a program that used to be called the Young Professional Social, but we renamed it and we've revamped it this year. And that was after a meeting with a think tank of young professionals. We got together and said, okay, look, what do you need? And what do you want to do? And how do you want this to look? Because we want to do what's going to be helpful. And we are not going to know that until we talk to you, right?
Yeah, that's smart to ask.
So I'm a big think tank person. So we got this think tank of people together, and they came up with some great ideas. And it's now called the Professional Power Up. And alternate months, it's in person, and on the opposite months, it's online. So it'll either be, the title will either be Professional Power Up Online or Professional Power Up Live. And so that group gets together. They generally have a speaker of some kind. This year, the Biggs Museum stepped up, and they're our sponsor for the program. And so in the live sessions, the group meets actually at the Biggs. They have lunch. They have a short, 15-minute presentation of some speaker from anywhere. It's not just the Biggs, although they did one too. And then they have an opportunity to network. They wanted to have a chance to be able to not only, this think tank, not only come themselves, but they wanted to be able to send their younger employees, and one of the biggest things that I learned from that think tank meeting that I thought was really cool was that it's really important to not only market that program to the young professionals, but to market it to their employers. Because it's much easier for somebody to come and to have permission to come if the employer goes to them and says, hey, there's this thing I want you to go to.
Yeah.
Rather than to have to go to a, employer. And
it might be scary.
Right.
Too, yeah.
Can I have some time off? Can I take this?
Yeah.
So we've been really trying to help our employers and managers understand what this program has. The other thing that they did not want was an age bracket labeled on this program. They felt like what we should do is pick topics that would be more interesting and more applicable to the younger people or people who are new in a career, because they have some of the same issues. They're trying to build their network. They're trying to become comfortable. So that's where we went with that. And it's really important to me that we build up that end of our membership so that we can continue to have a strong membership as the older members begin to retire and not be as active in the same way.
Yeah, to take their place at some point and continue the legacy.
Well, and that's the thing. We have to remember that when we're dealing with the younger generation and the younger business owners and leaders, they are the people who are going to take our places, and they're getting closer to that moment every day. So we want to make sure that that's happening, and we want to make sure that they have all the knowledge and wisdom and experience that we can give them to help that happen.
Yeah.
Right, and that's one of the key ways that the chamber will, any chamber, but Central Delaware Chamber of Commerce will make sure that it stays relevant.
That's right.
It's generational. If people don't consider the chamber as a value as a business owner, they're not. Eventually that will die off. It's not going to happen. Obviously, we've had these conversations, Megan. We're having, just even recently last week about So it's very purposeful.
Yeah. And the resources are endless. I mean, it's so important to utilize resources you have around you and to use them along with other people in the same boat as you. Or even this was probably 2-3 years ago when I was going into the commerce, and I thought the ribbon cuttings were so cool. I thought that was a great thing to offer because it's something you always see, but you're like, how do I even get one of those? So it's like, where do I even begin? And then the topics every month for different things that you could have been struggling with, and you're like, oh, great, now I can go in person and ask all the questions I have with no judgment. It's great.
Absolutely. So that was a great answer.
Thanks.
It's like she's done it before. It's like it's her job.
Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna, creativity, imagination is what we live for, and we understand. If you've seen any episodes of our podcast, the creative side of things, that's kind of where we like to steer the conversations to see how that's relevant. So let's ask you a question to put you on the spot. In your role, I know that you've been about 1.5 years. Has there been any creative, innovative business idea or campaign that you've encountered while you were here? That you had to really be very creative and use your imagination to apply, whether it was execution or the planning process. Is there anything that sticks out from your mind since you've been? I know you've been part of the chamber not as the president, for a long time. So you can even include in the last several years.
Wow, that's to pick out the biggest thing, or the premier thing. It's so interesting. I really feel like the value of creativity and imagination isn't necessarily the one big thing.
Okay.
It's the little things that happen every day.
Okay.
You know, it's the things you, as a leader, as a someone who is wanting to be a resource for members. You know, the chamber has to be nimble and flexible and open to new ideas and be innovative all the time, because every business is different, you know. Mm-hmm. And so somebody comes and says, I got this thing and I don't know what to do and I don't know who can help me. Well, one of the beauties of the chamber is we have, 760 some members right now. And you as a member may not know 760 of them, but we do, and so if you come to us and say, I don't know who can help me, we generally can make a suggestion. And so that whole connection piece has been huge. And we talked about that a little bit before. Right. I think, I think the professional power up was one of the examples of doing something creative, something new, building it new, to match the needs of the people that we're trying to serve. And that's what we're doing all the time. We're taking the different industries, the different businesses that are in our membership and trying to understand what's needed so that the big word of the day, you said it already, is relevant, that we remain relevant and that we're doing things that people need and we're actually able to help them and help move the needle. Now, I've had a couple of really cool connection kinds of things that have happened recently where a member got to meet another member at a mixer and they started talking and they realized that there is something that they could do in a partnership, right? Mm-hmm. And I can't be specific because I think that might get me in trouble, but there's something they could do in a partnership. And at the end of the day, some time went by, they worked it out, they've signed contracts, they've done all kinds of things, and they're helping each other's businesses by what came out of those conversations because somebody said, you should really meet this one, or you should really talk to this one. And that happens all the time. And that's one of my favorite, things to see is what comes out of those.
Do you feel like innovation has been playing more of a role than usual lately since even like how we had to adapt with COVID and then we came back and then just all the different innovations, have you guys had to adapt?
I didn't set her up for that. That is a great question because I know we're...
Or even not even the chamber, but you witnessing your own people in there having to adapt.
We saw so much, talk about creativity. Yeah. We saw so much creativity and innovation. The pandemic was a horrible thing. And I don't mean to take away from the horribleness of the pandemic by saying this, but there were some things that came out of that pandemic where people just really dug deep and they became innovative and creative. And they created new things in their businesses that they were forced to do because it was the only way they could remain open. But they became such cool things that they've continued to do them. And we were able to see that and be part of it. That was really cool. There are a number of businesses now that have moved from being brick and mortar to being e-commerce, online businesses. Well, I'll tell you, this chamber was built on brick and mortar. So the next think tank that we're going to have is going to be with people who are doing business online so that we can find out more of what's needed so that we can remain relevant, so that we can continue to help those businesses, whether they're brick and mortar, online, part and part, hybrid, whatever it is. But that's another part of what came out of that.
Absolutely.
And then for the chamber itself, we did do a big overhaul on our technology, which actually was planned prior to the pandemic, but then the pandemic interrupted it. And fortunately, the pandemic also informed it. There were some things that we would not have known that would be good for us to do in terms of the technology because there wasn't a need for it before. But since we've lived through a time where there was a need for it, we've gone to a situation now where we could potentially work from anywhere, and we could continue to get the job done. That's not, for us, that's not preferable to do all remote work because there are so many things where we need the hands, we need the people. But so to answer your question, we've seen a lot of it, and we're so proud of the people who were able to use a word that was way overused during the pandemic, pivot, but we're able to stop in the middle, make a change, do something different, watch it grow, watch it continue. That was the kind of stuff that we saw through that whole time.
I feel like sometimes forced creativity can be very
Absolutely.
beneficial.
It's funny you say that because I was thinking about that while Dina was saying this. We've talked a lot in season 1 about putting ourselves in a situation so we can be creative and relax and go into nature and be in retreat, have solitude. Just, however, we never really talked about when we're tested about how good our creativity is and how much we've exercised that muscle when the when there's friction or there's a pressure,
a deadline
or something happens that we weren't expecting and we have to pivot and make adjustments, because that's when you sit there and you go, oh, okay, we have to figure it out. And why? Because we have to. It has to happen. And that's when a lot of the biggest inventions in the 20th century came from as a consequence of there was a war. We needed to do something. It didn't have to be destructive. It could just been just to have a daily life and everything else.
Yeah, and sometimes those hardships, those quote unquote failures, are supposed to happen to push you forward to where you're supposed to go.
Right. So we can be receptive to, okay, we have to adjust and we have to figure it out, or wilt, the people who continue to innovate and make adjustments and are gonna thrive in those environments. So when you talk about innovation, Megan, I'm realizing even just as we talk, and I love what you said, Dina, that we asked the question in the macro, what big thing can you remember? But in the everyday life, there's opportunities to innovate and opportunities to be creative and use your imagination to make little adjustments.
Those little moments and details is when innovation really is affected. Like that's when it's used the most, not big picture. Like because it will affect the big picture in the long run. So every single second, just every day.
Yeah, and it's action. Innovation is action, and I think sometimes people they mistakenly use the word innovation when they're using it, because what they're talking about is something that's not innovative, it's novel.
Okay.
There's something different there, right? Something that's novel is something, oh, well, that's new. Innovation is something that's new and changes lives.
Yeah.
That's innovation.
It turns the needle for the better. That's really good.
And going back to how you were saying, people went from brick and mortar to e-commerce, et cetera, and that's still happening. With Chamber of Commerce, with your local Chamber of Commerce, it's cool because with e-commerce, you're not just getting customers in your state, you're getting them all over.
That's right.
But you still will thrive in your local commerce, even though you're serving people outside of your state. Yeah. So like Chica & Co., we're serving all of the U.S., but I still have my home base,
right?
And there's people here.
Right.
So it's not one or the other. It's not grow big or stay local. It can be everything.
Absolutely.
You're adding, you're not replacing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Exactly.
When you grow to be somebody who's doing, national business or international business, you're not saying, okay, local people, you can't buy from me anymore, right?
Exactly.
They're the people you should really nourish.
The tendency is to start big and come in, or you're not even ignore what's in your backyard. And that's our theme. It's the acres of diamonds. There's a lot of gems, not just diamonds in the rough, but just all kinds of gems in our backyard. Right. And so you didn't mention this, but in your business, you are online, but you spend, I would say, 10, 20 weekends a year
at local shows
with a table
or a local
doing
coffee
a pop-up,
shop.
Locally doing that. So you don't have a brick and mortar that's in one place all the time, but your business is available to the public locally, or anybody who wants to see you,
and collaborating with those local businesses too.
You do that,
even the local brick and mortars are kind enough to let me set up there, and we can share space and share customers, and it's just so cool.
So that's being creative. How do you figure this out? And so this is really good stuff.
I wanted to with commerce and there's also like the tourism program. What's it called? It's I did it. I went through it.
Yeah, but that's not.
I know. Okay. I just wanted to bring it up real quick to go into something. There's just knowing what's around your state is important. Sure. And so I wanted to ask if you could time travel to any era in Delaware's history for a day. Where would you go, or what local business would you want to start?
I would be in the basement of the Golden Fleece Tavern on December 7th, 1787.
Nice.
That's where I would be. Because, and I'll tell you, I think it's such a, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, but here we are. I think it's kind of a shame that space hasn't been restored and turned into something that people can see. I've always wished since I lived here that was some place that you could go in and say, this is where it happened.
I know we can Google this, but can you tell us a little more about that?
Yep, that's the day that the Delaware signed the Constitution.
Okay.
Delaware was the first state
to be ratified into the Constitution.
Okay, so that's where it happened. And it is, if you're familiar with the Green, it's on the corner there where Park Green Galleries and the Delaware shops are located.
Right there.
At one point in time, that was a big hotel that, they talk about the tavern was really, it was more than just a bar. It was a local hangout, and people stayed there. They stay overnight, and that's where that happened.
That's awesome.
And people might not know that.
And it's an incredible
That's
thing.
amazing.
Did you know, something I learned, I'm kind of embarrassed to say I just learned recently, is that our green in downtown Dover is on the National Parks Registry. I didn't know that.
Okay.
But
because of that.
It's huge. So I would love to, have been a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
Because you hear the stories of, the arguments and the excitement and all the jazz,
Yeah.
I
love that part of history. My daughter and I, the youngest one, Grace, I love the Revolutionary War. And this is, before that, but it's close to that time when we just shifted away and declared the independence. And that was, so I'm going to look more into that.
And you love Hamilton.
And we're big Hamilton fans.
It would be so cool to, there were other things happening during that time that would have been really, that you hear about, that would have been cool to see. The St. John's River was a big, robust river that clipper ships came up to Dover.
Okay.
And drop their stuff off. Now, you go down there now, it's like a little trickle.
Even just seeing downtown Dover in general in that time.
It would have been really interesting, and I'm not a person who's all about like dressing up like the past. That's not my gig. But I think it would have been cool to, be able to see it and understand it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did that answer your question?
Of course, yes. Okay. That was a very good some people would sit for a sec, but you're like, this is the exact time.
So to clear up, if there was any kind of the tourism comment, your own point, the Chamber of Commerce also helps when people are moving in to show them what's happening and they're thinking about it. And I know it's not part of the same organization, but in the same building, there's the King County Tourism Office, right? So they kind of joint venture in projects to kind of help people who want to visit Delaware. So that kind of knowledge, if I was somebody not living in Delaware and I'm a history buff, that's the kind of stuff I want to know. Well,
and we partner on a lot of things. Right now, every person on the staff at the Chamber is an ambassador. I forget what it's called. That's terrible. I think a certified tourism ambassador.
That's
what you were.
Yeah, yes. I went through the class and I brought it up just because I found out it through you guys.
Right.
So you guys told me about it.
We are all those ambassadors, and so we have had that training as well. And then in addition to that, many of our members are the places where people go, the museums and the First State Heritage Park and the Biggs Museum and the historical stuff downtown. Those are all members, they're members of the Chamber.
And we get a lot of tourists just from
sure do.
The beach, NASCAR, Firefly.
and there's more that you could see here.
Yeah.
And if you,
there is. So there's a push right now, and it's a good one, that instead of having people just use Dover as a place to pass through, let's have it be a place you go to.
Yeah.
Let's have it be a destination.
I love the Ag Museum too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They hold a lot of great events as well. It's just so important to appreciate where you come from, and even if you're not from, but this is your home now, and it's
right, because you can plant roots. I mean, I didn't grow up here. Grew up in Northern Virginia. You were born in Virginia, but I've been here long enough to say my roots are here. Same with you. Yeah. So this is home.
Yeah. And we always say, like, if you can't make it in a small town, you can't make it anywhere. So it's important to appreciate where you are.
You could sing that, actually.
Sounds like a country song.
No, this is really good stuff. Great question.
Thank you.
You brought it home.
I just fun.
Brought it home. So let me ask you something about the creative edge that the Chamber does, because I know I've been in internal conversations, so I know this. People don't know this that they're listening to, so we're letting them know. I know you were very creative during COVID, and to stay relevant, you shifted your role and became a communicator. You broadcasted, things that were happening in the state, and then you shifted things to virtual. A lot of people made those adjustments. A lot of people didn't survive. But then, I remember being part of working with you when there was a shift away from that to back to normal, whatever that is. But now I love the fact that you're looking ahead. So tell us, in that sense, there's a journey of looking back, seeing where you are and seeing what's in front of us. But do you think is, and I know you touched a little bit, but if there's anything you can point out, why do you think the Chamber of Commerce, Central Delaware Chamber of Commerce, stands out as the go-to? Because it is already. What is it doing? And this is more to inspire other chambers of commerce to say, hey, look, we can do more in our local things to kind of bring it up. What things is it doing differently than others are not to stand out and for it to be in the cutting edge, leading?
Yeah, I was just talking with somebody about this morning. We were having a conversation about, what makes us different from different people that are doing the same kinds of things as us. We're very hands-on. We try very hard to be in the middle of it, and we keep reminding our members that no matter what happens in your business, we want to know about it. If you're having a challenge, call us. We don't have all the answers, but we know the people who do.
We do.
Right? If you're having a success, call us so we can blow it up. We want everybody to know about your success. And so we're very hands-on. And it's difficult sometimes to do that with so many members, right? So we split it up. We try to spread the wealth. But a lot of it depends on, it's people who want to be engaged, right? So it's like a gym membership.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Right? Either you go use it and you work out and you get in shape, or you're just making a donation every month. And thank you very much for that.
But we'd love to see you use our resources.
Right.
What a great, and I love that because a lot of those gyms rely on those people who don't come into the gym to stay up, but the chamber doesn't do it that way. They actually, what can we do different to get these folks engaged? And that's what I love about that too.
Yeah, and the irony is sometimes people who have all these resources and not using them are complaining about why things aren't changing for them and why their business isn't thriving.
Yeah. And this is a self-reflection time for you business owners to see this. If you're not part of the chamber or any chamber of commerce, but specifically this one, if you're in Delaware, there's a point where the business owner also has a personal responsibility to actually engage and actually, you create the opportunity, you create the connections, you here it is in a silver platter, but they have to come in and participate. It's not just going to be dropped in their lap.
That's right. So there has to be engagement. And I'll tell you something that was going back to an innovative thing that has really worked for us is we do something called the 5-star journey map. And when people join the chamber, we encourage them to start their journey map. And what that means, 5 stars because we're a 5-star accredited chamber. And we're close to a military community, so a 5-star general is always better than right. So that's why it's called that. But there are several stops on this journey map, and they're basically opportunities that new members choose where they're going to map out how they're going to be engaged with the chamber. And what it does is it builds a habit of engagement. If you do that over a year's time, then chances are pretty good that after that you're going to continue to do it, right? Yeah. And that's going to help your business, and it's going to help you make sure that you're getting the benefits that are coming to you. So after they have a year to complete the map and they do it, and then we make a big deal and they get a pin, 5-star member.
Excuse me, I have a pen.
Yes, I'm sure you
And
do.
As a visual, I love that. It was like a little passport.
Yeah. It's awesome. So,
and it's like, okay, here's what I need to do.
Yeah, and sometimes people just need a little help getting started, on what things are going to most benefit their business. So I think I kind of steered away from the question.
No, that was a really good question.
No, I love the map.
Yeah, so different from other chambers. So that's that. And I've been trying, especially since I've been in this role, I've been trying to make sure to carve out time to get out of the office. Right. You can easily be consumed by the administration of what happens, right? And I want to make sure that I'm remaining connected with the people, around us that I can easily go see and how are you doing and is there anything you need and those sorts of things in person because there's nothing like that,
right.
And you can call and you can email, but when you go see somebody, generally you really see what's happening in their place.
And people are hungry now for connection because we were so disconnected for so long.
That's right.
So
that human connection is so important.
It's so important. You talked about that many times where you personally with your business.
Having a coffee with someone is better than an email. I feel like you can just get a lot more done with them and really get to know them. And also tone is hard to tell on email.
I was going to say
I'm
email.
An exclamation point user. And if you use a period, I think you're mad at me. So I like meeting out with people.
I'm not allowed to use K.
No.
If I say K, they're like, are you?
Is it really too taxing to put the O in front of it?
No. Well, you know what's
Or
worse than
spell
that?
it.
When people go KK.
Yeah,
I'm like,
KK.
why?
Or
It's still
OK.
2 letters. Why are you
That
replacing the
means
one
it's
that's
really okay.
KK sounds better than K, though.
Oh, really? That's a little more cheery.
Yeah, it's like KK. The more you know.
Look,
Be careful where you
I'm
use
just
that.
gonna call it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna call. Forget it.
No, email can really easily be misinterpreted.
No,
You
for
know,
sure.
just like texts, they can be misinterpreted. It's just easier to talk to people.
And you talk about connection, and that's something that you are personally. You're a connector. I mean, at High Ground, I have several clients that have been very fruitful for my business that came out of a connection that the chamber and or Dina had made, and I would not have connected with those people. So we had a guest last season, Colonel Huseman, who Dina was very instrumental in making that happen. So, but this, I'm not a unique thing. I pursued Dina I saw the resource. She's a friend too, but I'm saying from the perspective, it's like, what can we do? And she's like, let's do it. So if you it doesn't take a lot of energy to take a step forward to try to get help. When you do, imagine all the doors are going to be open.
Are there creative tools and actions you use from being a principal that you apply to the commerce? Because I feel like that's such a good flow. Like, I feel like you could use a lot of that.
I got in trouble, and she puts me in a corner.
You got a demand. She gave you a demand.
Timeout. Javi, timeout in the corner.
I haven't made you wear the hat yet.
Oh, we need to have more.
That's a really good question. Because I was the principal of it was a parochial school, which there's a gnat.
I know, I saw.
Okay.
It's
It
not.
really
You're not
is.
crazy.
I'm not
It's
twitching.
happening.
It's really.
We had fruit flies in here, didn't we? We had fruit flies, Bella. I think so. Yeah.
So that's a unique situation. It's usually not a rich place. It's usually they're lacking resources in a parochial situation, and it's nonprofit-ish, and all that kind of stuff. And so those things really translated well, because not that the chamber is begging for things. However, we are a nonprofit, and so we operate very differently in terms of budget and resources. And I think that the habit of having to be really careful about that is a good transition for that. But in addition, I'll tell you, if you want to learn how to be creative, my forte in education was middle school, which is something that you have to either really love or really get out of.
I hear that.
Right? And
like middle school teachers are made for.
Right, and I loved it.
It's a calling if you do it.
I loved it. There's no group of people that has more energy than a middle schooler if you channel it in the right way, right? So that was fabulous. But talk about a need to be creative. Yeah, stand in front of middle school age kids for 34 years. If you want them to learn anything, you really have to figure out how.
And those are the kids that need the most of that leader. Ironically, not the preschool. It's the middle school. That's when you're really need that person.
So you have to learn how to communicate with them. You have to learn what's going to resonate with them. And all of those kinds of skills have been really helpful in this role. And then I guess the last thing I would say about that is, I learned when I was in the school business, that even though I was the principal, I didn't know everything. I don't know the first thing about teaching a kindergartner. And it's too much nose wiping, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
So I had to surround myself with people who were able to pick up that slack. And so to make sure that you're surrounding yourself with a team of people who have strengths that you don't, and then learn how to rely on them and not think, oh, well, I'm the president, I know everything. I don't.
Yeah,
You're still learning.
So it's really
humility,
important.
yeah, it's important, and knowing that there's more. The magic happens when you have the group.
That's right.
And that culture that you built.
That was a fun question.
Yeah, that's very good. Oh, I'm gonna do better than that.
You got one ready.
My turn.
Well, mine came from my brain, not the paper. So
I want to know when I'm going to get a ding.
Oh, you'll hear the dings.
we put it later.
You put it later.
That's post-production.
I've been waiting this whole time
you
for
think
a ding.
you're doing something wrong. You're like, why haven't I been dinged?
I mean, I thought I said some smart things.
I think this episode's gonna be like ding, 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 ding.
And it's not our cell phone on ring.
No, it isn't. That's actually fun to do.
It's on purpose.
So, are there any stories, movies, books that inspired you in your approach in what you do at the chamber and community and just in life in general?
Wow, movies, stories, books.
You can pick one. You can pick one of each, whatever. But whatever comes to mind, because you would know whatever it is that inspired you.
I'll tell you something that inspired me. This has been many years ago, so I'm dating myself here. I'm just warning you ahead of time. The Dead Poets Society.
Great movie.
I thought that was a fabulous,
Which is filmed in Delaware.
Yeah, portrayal
Middletown.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it was.
of somebody who understood how to communicate with other people so that they would learn something, and would be able to convey, and help people to understand leadership skills and be creative and go for all the stuff. Right. Oh, and by the way, this is not about that question, but this is me.
That's us too.
Squirrel. Earlier you said not everybody's artistic, but everybody is creative.
Yes.
I think everybody is artistic.
Ooh, here we go.
But I don't think that everybody is artistic in a visual way. Mm-hmm. Okay? That doesn't mean they can all draw.
Right.
But everybody has the art of doing something. And some people hone the art of doing nothing, still an art, makes them artistic.
Amen.
Just saying.
And yours is, and also piano, along with your leadership skills. Like that's your way of being
I'm gonna
creative too.
do a deep dive into that because we stand corrected. We might not use that statement anymore.
I never used it, but
I've learned recently, by the way, that there's actually something in the creative process about doing nothing that actually helps you, and there's science behind it. There's delta waves. There's the theta waves that you have to be in solitude, in the calmness and the stillness. That's when things start happening. And you have to be able to be disciplined enough to downshift and just stop long enough to allow your brain to settle, so then you can allow for innovation and creativity.
And you have to understand that sometimes it takes I would say for the average, and I think I read this somewhere, it takes 20 minutes just to get still. Mm-hmm. If you can have 20 minutes to become still and stay awake,
right.
Then you're going to have some creative things that happen that are
my
just
goodness,
crazy,
absolutely.
right?
So, I've been doing this a long time, but recently, daily, in the last month and a half or so, believe it or not, I have the Calm app. So I do morning meditation. It goes through this thing, and there's moments that I'm struggling in now because ideas start coming into my head while I'm in the middle of meditation, and they want you to not do anything. And I'm like, I got to go get a pencil and pen and write this down before I forget it. So that's a challenge I run into right now. Yeah. But I try it. I think, Dina, what Dina you just said is important, because if we wanted to tap into our inner creative, it's very difficult unless you're pressured, because we talked about it later. But how many times do we want that to happen? For us to slow down.
That's right.
And stop. There's a lot of great things that can happen in boredom. And if we just embrace a little bit of boredom, doesn't have to be being lazy. It just has to be still.
That's right.
And quiet.
I heard somebody say one time, we miss things in two ways. Either they go by too fast or we go by too fast, and that's...
And our society is just
part
moving.
of it. And we're constantly, we live in a country where there's a national monument called Rushmore. Right?
You're going to get a ding on that one.
There it is. What a good episode.
Yeah. We could sit there for a little while longer.
When you were saying the pressure, my brain went, and you know what pressure makes? Diamonds.
It does.
And
it
that's
does.
what we're trying to
to
bring out.
It's applied on us. We apply it on ourselves. Others apply it. But at the same time, we have to embrace these things and not wilt. I know they're challenging, but when challenges come, that's when true things happen. I heard somebody say several times, Bobby says it all the time, but quoted from someplace where success and innovation and growth happens outside of the comfort zone. We have to be willing to go there and not be scared of that. It's painful, yes. However, it makes us better. And that's where true creativity and imagination happen, is in those moments. That's how you tap into your inner creative. So it takes courage.
Absolutely. And it's risky.
It is risky. It is. So you have taken a lot of risks in your role. But I love a lot of things about you, but one of the things I love is that you very quickly have embraced and built a culture, and people join in on the same movement and the same vision. And when you do that, you're a true leader, because there's people that jumped into roles that were by others who've done great, but the challenge always is you don't have to blow it up to make a point. And what Dina has done is she kept things moving, but added more things and created a new pace and a new direction.
And a big community is nothing if there's no connection in it.
Right.
So that's the first step for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Bring everybody together.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I just love all of this. And
Hey, look, I went most
I
of the
love
time.
connection. I love talking. We talk about it a lot about collaborating and connection and how important that is.
Absolutely, and you can't succeed unless you're willing to do that or step into that. So let's. I think we've gone full circle, Dina. Is there anything you want to tell us? You know, anything you want to promote? Anything you want to plug? I know there's a few things, so please, there's shameless. And we can we'll finish it up after this.
Sure. Well, the chamber is always busy. It's summer now, so we haven't had as many activities and events where people come together, but they're coming. Yeah. So at the end of the month, the end of August, this probably won't have aired.
Oh, it will actually.
It will have already aired.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
so
actually
I can say it.
Yes, you can. Yes, you
okay.
can.
So the last Wednesday of the month, we're doing our semi-annual member-to-member expo, and that's going to be held at Pizza Dilly Winery.
Nice.
In Felton, which is really a cool
I did a
place
wedding there.
in their beautiful pavilion.
Okay.
And we're going to have about 30 vendor tables, and people can come and actually see what some of our members are doing. And, you know, that's a great venue also for like the e-commerce people so that they can come and do a table and show their stuff and, you know, all that kind of jazz. So that's coming up. That's a free event because it's a Sunset Business Mixer in connection with that. So, and then in September, oh my gosh, we're bringing back the Amazing Chase, which is a very fun competitive cross between a scavenger hunt and a race in downtown Dover. And there are winners. There's a money prize at the end of it, and the object of the game is to get people familiar with what's around down there, and places that they can get inside of and go, oh, maybe I should come back when I'm not in a race. You know, right. So that's always a big fun event. And then our holiday gift auction is coming up in October. So
lots of good things.
There's many things.
Proof of all the resources the chamber has.
Absolutely, and of course, you know, we are always welcoming new members. And so if anybody listening or watching has a desire to learn more about the Central Delaware Chamber of Commerce or become a member, please call us, visit our website, cdcc.net.
Yes.
And we'll be more than happy to talk with you and see if we are a good fit and to help you understand the areas where we can help you.
Very cool. Very cool.
Thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. This has been a really good episode. So having said that,
and thank you to those of you listening and watching. You can listen to us moving forward on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google, and you can watch us on YouTube.
Yes.
But with that, go create something, and thank you so much for listening.
See you next time.